Gary Bolton is Vice President of Global Marketing at Adtran, and he's here with us in Dallas at the TIA 2015 Network of the Future Conference. Great to see you again, Gary.
Good seeing you again, Deb.
Tell us, Gary, we've been hearing a lot about gigabit networks. Is there really a need for this much bandwidth?
You know, that's a great question. You know, just a few short years ago when we were working with the FCC on the National Broadband Plan, we were trying to define what broadband was. And so we were talking things like 1 megabit, and then it came out to be 4 megabits, and we looked out and did a national map about 4 megabits down and 1 megabit up. And now that's been upgraded to 10 megabits for the Connect America program. And then the FCC just recently ruled define broadband as 25 megabits downstream and 3 megabits upstream. And we even had people start to guess about, even a couple of years ago, saying, where do you hit the diminishing point of returns? Is it 50 megabits or 70 megabits, and trying to figure out, okay, how many 4K TVs you're going to have, how much streaming? But the real answer is you can't get them enough. People want more and more and more bandwidth, and so we even have our gigabit service providers offering only gigabit as their offering, and people are asking for more. How can I get 10 big gigabits? How can I get more? So the real answer is whatever the number is, that's not enough. We got to have more and more and more.
Now, Adtran has helped more than 100 communities experience gigabit networks. Can you talk about some of the benefits they're seeing as a result of these new high-speed next-generation services?
About a year ago, we set a target in a program we called Enabling Communities Connecting Lives on enabling about 50 communities to become gigabit communities, and that was for 2014. By the end of first quarter 2015, we've already enabled over 100 communities to become gigabit cities or gigabit towns. And really, this is transformative. And it goes from anything from just pure economic development. So when we see that once you have a gigabit infrastructure, people will start to move there because they're able to do the things that they were only able to do in Silicon Valley. Now they can go do in Mississippi, or they can go do in South Carolina, and do in other places. They're not commuting 2 hours to work every day. And so being able to have this infrastructure draws innovation, and then it also, all those suppliers that support these startups and innovative companies start to move to town, and then people have to eat and have to sleep, and so it really drives economics and economic growth. So what we saw with the study we did with the Fiber to the Home Council is that gigabit infrastructure has a direct impact of 1.5% in GDP. So it is a meaningful measurement of economic growth to have that gigabit infrastructure. And then we saw that now that once people have this, kind of their communities underpinned with gigabit services, that they're able to transform the way they do government, to transform the way they're able to learn in the schools and the type of applications. And so you see that every day. We're seeing that at the conference here. We're talking about all the things that are being connected and all the things that are driving bandwidth. So it's today it's largely over-the-top video. So we're seeing Netflix and YouTube drive about 50% of the capacity on the internet. But over time we'll start to see that change. So everything is rich video experiences, and we know that everybody wants to be connected in real time.
Gary, you've made several announcements about new technologies like GFAS and vectoring recently. Can you tell us a little about these innovations and how they'll help service providers deliver higher bandwidth services?
Well, absolutely. So what we're seeing as people are launching gigabit services, it's creating what we call a halo effect. So while it's very expensive to be able to get fiber to the home to a lot of different topologies, what service providers are doing is that they want to be able to get gigabit to the areas so they can afford to do that, but then the surrounding communities, they want to be able to get as high bandwidth as possible. So things like vectoring. So what vectoring is really noise cancellation. So it allows the VDSL2 technology that provides high capacity bandwidth over existing copper connections to be able to get up to very fast speeds. And then what we're able to do with G.fast is the next generation of using more spectrum to be able to get up to gigabit speeds over copper in very short loops. And so what that allows is like a fiber to the building or fiber to a multi-dwelling building like an apartment, and that you're able to use the copper infrastructure inside to be able to deliver those high bandwidth services. So the net of all this is that even if you aren't able to get a gigabit to your neighborhood today, we were able to leverage these other technologies to get to 50 megabits, 100 megabits, or half a gigabit, or even to a gigabit within a building as we're moving more and more fiber out. So it really provides more of a ubiquitous service offering to get high bandwidth.
And Gary, finally, one of the newest technologies under development is NG-PON2. Can you tell us a little about this technology, its benefits, and explain Adtran's approach?
Yeah, so we are really excited that we recently announced our NG-PON2 offering. And what NG-PON do, it was generally in the standards organizations targeted for really kind of premium business services. But what we wanted to be able to do is to go from these communities that are offering gigabit today to be able to offer 10 gigabits downstream as well as 10 gigabits upstream. So have this high 10 gigabit offering, but instead of it where the technology was heading about 7-8 times more expensive than GPON, we're able to do some techniques to be able to bring that down to almost GPON economics. So we're really able to completely transform the industry, delivering this 10 gigabit technology at near GPON prices.
Thanks a lot, Gary. It was really great having you here.
Great seeing you, Deb.